You might have heard me talk before about a thing called the Autonomy Institute. It is a research group out of the UK. It was started by some people that I know, and they put out this thing that I think is really interesting. I'm curious if you guys are into this too. I've asked if they might want to come on and talk about this, and I think they're into it. But they put out a research doc. It's called The Authoritarian Stack: How Tech Billionaires Are Building a Post-Democratic America and Why Europe is Next. I'm someone, shout out to Frederick Jameson and cognitive mapping. I'm someone that likes to see things visualized and put together in a way where we can see levels of connectivity. And I think this does a really interesting job. So I wanted to share this with you and talk about it for a bit. Um, let's see. In late July 2025, deep within the Pentagon's bureaucratic machinery, the U.S. Army quietly signed away a piece of its sovereignty: a $10 billion contract with Palantir Technologies. We've talked about Palantir on the channel before. Go watch the essay on my main channel about Palantir if you haven't. One of the largest in the Department of Defense history, was framed as a move towards efficiency. So the Pentagon gave $10 billion to a private company run by Alex Karp, who we talked about on the show last week. A strategic handover of core military functions to a private company whose founder, Peter Thiel, has declared that freedom and democracy are no longer compatible. That's horrifying. So what they've done here is create a little system by which we can see who these authoritarian tech guys are. And yes, it's almost all guys, who they work for and how they're connected. Now, you have heard me talk before about cognitive mapping, a concept we get from the work of Frederick Jameson. We're finally returning to the Jameson reading group this week. I'll see some of you guys there on Friday. But cognitive mapping, in one way, describes the reaction to a system under, postmodern late capitalism, where we're unable to see social and economic connections between things. Think about the idea that you arrive in a new city. You've never been to Japan before. I blindfold you. I put you on a plane. I do an inception to you while we're on the plane. And then we get to Tokyo and you don't have a map or anything. I put you on the street and you're kind of just like, holy crap, what's happening? None of this makes sense. The difference between that and me giving you a map or, access to Google Maps or something, where you have systemic access to a structural account of where you are and how things are connected. Now, Jameson's point is that late capitalism intentionally obscures those connectivities so that we're disoriented and don't have a map from which we get how things are connected and how we get from here to there. So I think a lot of what they're doing here is creating a sort of cognitive map for us. So, you take Peter Thiel, click Peter Thiel, co-founder of Palantir. We see all the funds he's connected to, Mithril. These guys love Lord of the Rings stuff, companies, doctrinal links. And then, of course, we see political links. J.D. Vance, vice president, ever heard of him? Mark Andreessen, the ideologue of acceleration. He sucks. But again, we can see the funds he's a part of, the companies he works with. Techno-accelerationism is his sort of doctrine, his political links as well. And then going even deeper here, so, then you get to, okay, SpaceX, which is connected to, oh boy, Elon Musk, who's connected to J.D. Vance, who's the co-founder of a capital group brought by Thiel, who's connected to national conservatism and Christian determinism. Then you get down here, you probably didn't hear about this guy, Palmer Luckey, automated warfare. That's cool that he does that stuff. $220 billion in the U.S. defense portfolio, big tech militarism guy. And then he's connected to Oculus, Thiel Capital, all these groups here, David Sachs, CryptoZar. So just in seeing this, and he's a big patriotic capitalism guy, we're able to visualize, and of course we can't leave Karp out, right? Patriotic tech. We're able to visualize the connectivity between many of the people that are running our society right now and that are controlling aspects of our government and economic infrastructure. And throughout, it's both horrifying and clarifying to see how connected this all is, and to see it connected in a way that's non-conspiratorial, right? Because this isn't like a conspiracy here. These are individuals who in the public record are connected via various financial, corporate, technological, and government interests who are intertwined with paper trails all around them. To reference Jameson again, it's sort of Jameson calls conspiracy theory something like the poor man's cognitive map, because it's, conspiracy theorism is often the way in which we want to make sense of things, or there's a genuine desire to put all the threads together, but we're unable to see it in that particular moment, or we sort of project onto things. An incident like this, though, is like, no, we can just actually see the thing right in front of us. And yeah, it gets into it. So JD Vance propelled to the vice presidency by 15 million from Thiel, became the face of tech right governance. Behind him, Thiel's network moved in the machinery of the state under the banner of patriotic tech. This new bloc is building the infrastructure of control. This sucks. Clouds, AI, finance, drones, satellites, an integrated system we call the authoritarian stack. It is faster, ideological, and fully privatized. A regime where corporate boards, not public laws, that's the rules. And that's the thing here too, right? When we think about technology, and we can say the technology, where's Stringer Bell, is good, bad, whatever, in and of itself. But here we're talking about technology being used by a government to privatize military and surveillance systems so that individuals who have never been elected to anything by anyone, maybe student government, I don't know, now control a vast tech ecosystem that controls many of our lives in many ways. I'm going to share this link as well in the chat because I realized I didn't do that before. There you go. And their investigation shows how these firms operate as state-like powers. And this is what we see, when you look at the work of someone like a Curtis Yarvin, one of the Silicon Valley philosophy guys, who advocates for a kind of techno-monarchical thing. Like, this is what they're doing. And, the piece says Silicon Valley isn't building apps anymore. It's building empires. And they go on to show how this capture is happening via the personnel in play here. And the connection between Silicon Valley and Washington is really wild now. And this is an important thing to note, that this isn't a new thing, because don't tell anyone, but the Democrats really helped make that happen. You know who loved to build strategic partnerships with Silicon Valley? Obama. So you start with Thiel. Thiel's former chief of staff directs the White House Office of Science and Technological Policy. So a guy that was Thiel's, first in command or whatever, gets to run the White House Office of Science and Technology. An Anduril executive was nominated as Army Undersecretary while still holding $1 million of stock in the company. Palantir, this guy, Gregory Taco, is the federal chief information officer. Again, all these instances, we're taking people from the militarized tech sector, many of whom have espoused or associated with pretty weird ideologies, and giving them direct government power. Another guy from Palantir, Clark Miner, looks like a miner, looks like a young guy. Health and Human Services Chief Information Officer. So we're putting all of these people in roles where they're connected up to the vast information networks. But they go on to say this goes further, commissioning Silicon Valley executives directly into military ranks. That's great. So 4 tech execs were sworn in as lieutenant colonels. The line between contractor and commander has been raised. So a guy from Palantir, Army. Meta, Army. None of these guys look like military guys. OpenAI, Army. Another OpenAI, Army. That's crazy. We're taking tech execs and we're making them lieutenant colonels. I don't know how this works, but you should have to go to some type of training. You should have to do some type of boot camp, and then they should film it, and we should all get to watch it. The pipeline made visible. Again, guys, this is just cognitive mapping at play. Unlike old authoritarianism built off fear and force, this new system rules through code, capital, and infrastructure, making resistance feel architecturally impossible. It's a self-reinforcing loop. Well, check this out. Ideology fuels venture capital. Capital captures the state. The state feeds the same private system that built it. A new model of power, privatized sovereignty. So it's important to note here, that in the model of power that they're outlining, the state is just serving the purpose of capital. Like the end goal here isn't the state. It's not democracy. It's not the citizenry. It's not taxpayers. The end goal of this whole system is that Silicon Valley capital tech bros have captured the state to use the state, the economy, and its military infrastructure to create the conditions for its own strength. And the more these, like militarized and surveillance offices get privatized and given over to these people, it's not good. Here's a little graph. Again, I think it's so nice to have visualizations of all this. Each layer reinforces the others. Ideology justifies investment. Investment captures state power. State power secures contracts. Contracts build infrastructure. Infrastructure becomes indispensable. Indispensability generates returns. Returns fund more ideology. So these people who are espousing various types of techno-feudal, techno-fascist, nationalist beliefs are getting ass tons of money from the government to develop technologies just to keep an eye on you. And then, of course, the capital machine, financial flows from taxpayer to venture capital follow the money. So we're seeing right here that U.S. taxpayer money goes to these government offices that go to those tech companies that support these capital groups. All of these capital groups over here, and I know we can't see all of them right now because my ugly mug is in the way. We know what these people do. They use their money for political influence. Founders Fund, Thiel's $18 billion flagship, led Anduril's $1 billion round at a $30 million valuation. You have 1789 Capital. They epitomize dynasty. They were founded by Thiel's confidants, joined by Donald Trump Jr. They're worth $1 billion. Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z, backs defense techs and what it calls builders of the American state. And then they have 5 domains of privatized sovereignty here. Again, this is something we can all look into. It's really great how they kind of let you explore. It's very fun. This is a very like ADHD friendly way to look at stuff here. But there's crypto sovereignty, the nuclear AI complex, SpaceX orbital infrastructure, autonomous warfare, and Palantir, the operating system of the government. $10 billion with the Army, ICE integration platform. They're working with the German police. They're working with the National Health Service. It's not great. And of course, this is a group that's based in Europe. They're showing how this is all becoming intertwined. So American tech power has become American power, is becoming global power. It's circling back around to reinforce tech power. And then down here, this is pretty cool. You can see all the different nodes of connection in the authoritarian tech network, and basically get at the idea that there's levels of connectivity between all of these things. So I would say check this out if you have not already. I think it is a incredible resource for making sense. And I'm putting the link in the chat again. For making sense of how all the worst people get together to do the worst stuff in a way that negatively benefits our lives. It's the authoritarian stack. Do check it out. Hey, thanks for watching this. In case you didn't know, I have a main channel where I post video essays and stuff like that. It's just called Michael Burns. There's a link. Would love for you to check that out. If you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon. You can also hit up either of my beverage partners. There's Yes Please Coffee, who make the best gosh darn coffee in the world. You get 15% off with the code Burns Beans. And of course, my beloved new non-alcoholic beer sponsor, Years Beers. It's really good. There's a link below, and if you use it, you get 10% off your first order. So thank you so much. And if you ever want to watch these streams live, I'm live every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific. Okay, now now it's really over. So now you can go. I'm going to finish this. Now it's over. I'll see you guys for the next one.